this week we are doing sleuth articles. You have a copy of the article with you, either in paper or digital form, and I am going to read it for you. I want you to remember that we are doing close reading with these as we answer the questions. I know that when I'm really trying to look for answers in a text, I'm going to read my text more than once. This is not something that you just listen to me read. You're going to read it again. I really suggest that you're underlining or highlighting in that copy of the text that you have to find your answers. Just because we're not in school, we're still really working on that Fab Five. I know that we haven't talked about that in a while, so I'm going to remind you of what the Fab Five is. The Fab Five is 1, underline the question and box in key words. So keywords, those are those academic words, the words you might hear your teacher say. 2, identify the target. What target are we working on? 3, create a graphic organizer. I'm using those graphic organizers to help me understand the question better and to help me answer the question more thoroughly. And 4, my favorite, is prove and disprove your answers. That just means you're going to go back in the text and find either proofs of your answer using text evidence or disprove something that shows you why it's wrong. And then finally, check for reasonableness. Is my answer reasonable? Does it make sense? Okay. Knowing that before, now you know that I am what you're going to be doing. We've set a purpose that we know we're going to be close reading. I'm going to look at those questions that I have to do, and then I'm going to listen to the story the first time. So remember, the first time is your gist. You're getting a basic understanding of what the story is about. The second time, you're honing in on those really important parts that are going to help you answer the question. And then the third time is where you actually answer the question. Okay, a voice for women. In 1815, when Elizabeth Cady Stanton was born in Johnstown, New York, males had much more influence and many more options for employment than females in the United States. American women could not become government leaders, preachers, or professors. Girls with an interest in public speaking or politics were steered in other directions. The law even barred women from voting. Like other girls of her time, Elizabeth was expected to become a wife and mother when she grew up, and not much else. It's not surprising that Elizabeth Cady Stanton eventually became a wife and mother. Though she loved her family, Stanton was passionate about politics as well. One of her causes was the effort to abolish slavery in the United States. Okay, last week when we read The Road to Freedom, we talked about abolish means to end something. So someone that's working to abolish, or an abolitionist, is working to end something like slavery. Before her marriage in 1840, moreover, she had made supporting this movement a priority. Following her marriage, she and her husband attended an anti-slavery conference in England. Stanton's main concern, though, was fair treatment for women. In the mid-1800s, the law recognized few rights of American women. Besides being barred from voting, barred means they could not do it, women could not serve on juries and were denied an equal education. Women could not divorce their husbands. In 1848, Stanton helped organize the Women's Right Conventions in Seneca Falls, New York. She wrote a Declaration of Women's Rights, which was passed by the convention's delegates. This document demanded that the same rights be recognized for women as for men. By the 1860s, Stanton was speaking and writing frequently about women's rights. Many Americans, men and women alike, disagreed with her position. Some mocked her, while others simply ignored her. Standing strong in her beliefs, Stanton continued to travel extensively, making speeches and trying to change people's minds. Stanton had disagreements with people on her side, too. After the Civil War, which ended slavery in 1865, most women's rights advocates supported granting voting rights to African Americans. Yet when politicians decided To allow black men to vote while continuing to keep women of all races from voting, Stanton became furious, adamantly refusing to support voting rights for African American men if women could not vote. Many other women's rights activists, however, disagreed with her. The result was split. From 1869 to 1890, the women's rights movement formed two competing organizations. Fighting for women's rights into her old age, Stanton inspired thousands of Americans. Though she died in 1902, 18 years later, the United States approved the 19th Amendment, which at last recognized women's right to vote. So, that is our article today. Now, your job is to answer the questions provided for you by your teacher, either in your packet or on Canvas or through the email your parents received about this. Just a reminder, when we close reread the article multiple times, it is not a very long article, so that should be something that you should be able to do. And when you answer the questions, you are underlining or highlighting in the text where you found the answer.